Hey guys, welcome back to these daily series. And what double digits achieved? That's right, we are on number 10. Maybe got a little bit overexcited about that. And today I thought maybe we could talk a little bit about the kind of comparative compared to the last video, because last video we were talking about where to balance pro versus casual. So kind of knock on from that, I thought, why not talk about why devs are so fixated on casuals, right? So there's probably some obvious reasons in people's heads, like that's where the money is at. But let's expand on that a little bit deeper, because why make it simple? Okay, I don't know about you, but I don't like things challenge me. And let's talk about the challenge that game designers face at the core of their product. Almost every single game designer's philosophy can track back to the idea of this: a game must be simple to pick up and play, but difficult to master. And that skill in itself, regularly doing that with games, is difficult to master. And that's why we usually see these games that kind of get convoluted and introduce too many game mechanics fail a lot, because they aren't keeping it simple. You want a product that is easy to pick up, and that's why, for example, mobile games and Facebook games, these type of things are just very easy for people to pick up. It's very difficult to lose at them necessarily, or it's very quick, so you just learn, move on to the next one, right? And that's why, for a start, this whole idea of casual games is so popular, is because you're seeing those areas succeed in terms financially and user numbers as a result of that. And then you have to compare the risk versus reward of making a game for pros versus for casuals, right? So one is definitely easier to milk because of the aforementioned mobile games. Almost everyone has mobiles. If you actually look at the breakdown of how many gamers, people categorize as gamers right now, are mostly mobile, it's pretty astounding, the numbers. But that is to say, with those type of elements in this current climate, casual games are a lot easier to make money off of. Esports requires a more active investment. You have to think of it on where you want to spend your money. If you don't really have like much to throw at it, it might be difficult to attract people to an esports scene. Whereas a casual game, or a game that is meant for casuals, it's just your development cycle cost, right? That's kind of your core cost. It's there already. And then if you have lots of more money to spend, it's then a choice of whether you want to chase a marketing budget or use esports as a marketing tool. And a lot of games don't really use esports the same way they used to as a marketing tool. They've become it used to be that it was a money sink, and now it's like a self-sustained product, right? We see tournament organizers that exist simply to create esports events, or we see the devs take control of it and actually make a lot of money, whether it's through crowdfunding, for example, ticket sales, etc. The merchandise. There's loads of ways that they're able to actually now convert that into the cheddar, as opposed to what it originally was, which was this dark hole that you threw money into. Or at least that's how devs perceived it. And I don't think this temptation to make your games more casual disappears even if we lock down microtransactions. That's actually another big reason why it's tempting, because we mentioned these games, mobile games, these Facebook games. One of the big things they have in common is they have ways for you to buy in-game currency, which you can then spend on boost packs or whatever else it is. And I don't necessarily think that getting rid of microtransactions entirely is possible. I think we will see a drop back where, for example, loot boxes, etc., are just going to completely fall out of favor and just be removed, because, to be honest, you could probably make just as much money releasing clear products for people without the backlash. And those clear products, right? Like, I release a skin that looks really cool. You buy it. And then I make a better skin 2 months down the line that consciously has a lot more effort in it. Yeah, it takes a little bit more time, but you're going to probably buy that one as well, even if it's for the same gun, for example. And the reason we have these kind of shortcuts as well through those microtransaction systems, and why it kind of has to exist, is the time versus money comparison. It's this balance between free players and paying players, and both of them are quintessential to the situation. So at its core, it's very simple. If you are paying money, it's usually because you have a source to pay money from, right? You're investing more time elsewhere outside the game. So when you come to the game, to stay on the level of someone who has a lot more time to invest but less money, you need a way to kind of bribe your way past the guard, right? Get the quick shortcut while they take the run around the castle. And that's what these systems are usually designed to do. It's actually quite a logical and, in my opinion, mostly innocent, at least in its original conception, idea, is that if you don't have the time to invest, it'd be unfair to give you a shortcut for free, because then what about the people who are spending 3 times the amount of time in the game? And both of these people are critical, because the people that have a lot of time but don't have money are there. They're in the game. They're like part of the content for these players who come in with their wallet and spend money. And it's a really difficult balance to get right sometimes. Things like double XP, as an example, or amounts so you can move around the MMO environment quicker. Those things are usually pretty fine. Even things that give you like more stamina so you can craft more regularly, because there's a workaround for the players who have more time, especially when you have a mix where the players who buy stuff from the shop can sell to the free players to get their currency, right? That trade back and forth, which is something that devs have started to tap into when, for example, WoW now allows you to buy a subscription with in-game cash. And the balance between those players is crucial because they both keep each other in the game, in that the players who are there all times are part of the content, so that when the paying player comes in, they have someone to interact with. The paying player is crucial for the person who has all the free time, because without them, guess what? The game goes bye-bye, okay? Shuts down. You need each other to exist. And there's an argument that, like, those people are casuals, right? The ones that are able to pay the money are casuals because they don't invest a full day or 5 in a week into that game, right? They don't invest 8 hours a day like some people might. For example, pro players can afford to do that, or I can afford to do that because it's research for my job. But a lot of people can't, and the reality is, like, you have to accept, like it or lump it. Casual players are here to stay, and devs enticing casuals in the game is definitely going to remain. Now, that doesn't contradict what I was saying in the previous video. I think if you are making a competitive game, you should definitely still fixate around this idea that your casuals will play the game. It's fine. You just need to focus on balancing at the highest level. The reason being is actually a lot of this is very simple nowadays, is that the simplicity is what matters to those casual gamers. Difficulty to master is crucial for your high-level, dedicated gamers. But for a lot of people, who, especially those who are willing to like spend a little bit of money, you don't have to go the route of like something like World of Tanks did when it first came out, where it more or less just let Russian oligarchs dumpster like everyone, just run over everyone because they threw thousands of dollars a week into the game on premium ammo. You don't have to go to those extremes. Instead, what we see a lot of devs do, and it does work quite well, is matchmaking systems. Even Call of Duty, a game that, funnily enough, it feels weird and ironic that it would have a matchmaking system on ranked considering kill streaks, now has that in place so that it balances out and makes sure everyone gets that kind of even experience. And that then just comes back to this whole idea of time versus money. If people have less time to invest in the game, they want a quicker product, right? And the thing about matchmaking systems is it gives you more of a 50-50 base for that experience you're getting when you interact with the game. That's important in conjunction with keeping your game time down. The reason being, let's say, for example, old school Dota, where we'd have regular 2-hour games. You could still, in theory, have that, but it very rarely happens. If you have a 2-hour game and you lose, you're de-incentivized to play again because that sucked, right? Let's say you only had the 2 hours or 3 hours max a night that you could commit, but a game takes half an hour and you win, but then you lose 2, but then you win another. Like, you're even Stevens, right? In the same kind of rough aspect of time. And that's why we've seen loads of different genres try to decrease their time. I mentioned Dota 2 has definitely done that. Things like CSGO has the casual modes, right, where you can drop in, drop out. You don't have to be committed to the full 15 rounds aside. You can just exit without repercussions, per se. And then we also see some genres that have suffered trying to cater to this, because people have less time on average in a day, right, that they can spare. People are busy, especially in this generation. I sound like an old person, especially in this day and age where we live our jobs more than we live our lives. I think a lot of people are guilty of that, and I call it the kind of corporate culture. I think it was to extent kind of the American culture, because I know like that country is very fixated on work, right? And it's always crazy to hear about like people should take their holidays in that country, whereas obviously in the UK, take all your holiday days. You're not worried, but that's to do with like employee laws and kind of things we have to protect us. That's a different discussion. But my point is that when you have less time, this is why people are engaging with mobile games and casual games more, because they can just dip in, dip out, right? This is why the Switch sells so well, is because I can pick up my Switch, even if it's Zelda, I start playing, pause, close, done, right? That's obviously an offline example, but even the online examples, like you think about it's more about the way that product is able to be integrated into my daily life or someone else's daily life. Is that when you're busy, you pull out your phone and you do a little bit of Clash of Clans or whatever else. Then you just, after 5-10 minutes, put it away, and you continue what you're doing. One genre that has really suffered to convert to this is RTSs. We saw some RTSs that tried to decrease the average game time, and it really hurt the product. It's a tough one to balance because those strategy games are very complex. Grand strategy games as well. It's surprising when we still see some games like Europa Universalis or Hearts of Iron. These type of games actually still fare pretty damn well sales-wise because they are very, very long games. The difference with them, of course, compared to something like an RTS is you can pause, save, close, and come back later. Something RTSs can't, especially due to technical limitations around the product. If we're talking about an online environment, it's just not feasible. Something called peer-to-peer lockstep. Most RTSs to this day still use kind of just the go-to solid and functional choice for them. That's just my thoughts on a little bit of that. Maybe that highlighted some for you. Maybe that enlightened you as to why we kind of need the casuals, but obviously they shouldn't dictate the experience wholly. But I'm done. This is the video wrap up where I tell you to look down below, give me your feedback, let me know. We had some interesting things flagged in the previous video, and if you have any suggestions, feel free to make them there or slide into DM mode and I will get back to you. I think we might try and see if we can actually start doing some sort of vlog, podcast series where we bring on people to actually discuss this and maybe go a little bit more in depth. But that would be something totally separate. I don't know how that would fit into the daily cycle of things, especially when I'm working events. But I'll see what I can come up with. That is it, however. Thank you, folks. Be sure to share the video around, and I appreciate your support. I will see you in the next one.